I never should have accepted the dare. But when your friends are waiting, looking at you like you're a coward, you don't really have a choice. It's one of those moments where your pride blinds you, and suddenly you're walking to the gates of hell just to prove a point. That's what we thought the Redwood Funhouse was anyway, just an old carnival attraction. Abandoned, sure, but how dangerous could it really be? It all started on Halloween night, a perfect night for ghosts and stories. We gathered by the bonfire at my friend Marcus' house, the orange and yellow flames dancing against the darkness. The smell of burning would mix with the crisp night air. We were a group of 4, me, Marcus, Leah, and Eric, all high school seniors with an appetite for thrills. We had heard the rumors about the old funhouse in Redwood Park, about the clown who vanished decades ago under mysterious circumstances. The stories varied. Some said he died in an accident. Others claimed he'd been swallowed by the place itself, his spirit forever haunting the carnival grounds. No one really believed the stories, but they were fun to talk about. That was until Marcus threw out the dare. "Let's go into the Redwood Funhouse tonight," he said, the firelight flickering across his smirk. "What's the worst that could happen?" The others were instantly on board, eager for the adrenaline rush. But I hesitated. I knew that place. Hell, I'd heard the same rumors. I had my doubts. But in the end, the pressure of the group was too much. We piled into Marcus' car, and before I knew it, we were standing in front of the old carnival gates, the rusted metal twisted and warped by time. The entrance to the funhouse loomed like an old, gaping mouth, waiting to swallow us whole. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and decay. The once vibrant colors of the carnival signs had faded to sickly pastels, and the laughter that echoed faintly from the distance sounded like it belonged in a nightmare. We all stood at the entrance for a moment, staring into the darkness beyond. Leah was the first to break the silence, laughing nervously. "Well, I guess we're here. Let's make this quick." We all agreed, but none of us were quick to move forward. We lingered, unsure whether we were afraid of what was inside, or just afraid to admit we were afraid. I, of course, had to be the one to make the first move. I stepped forward, pushing the old, creaky door open. The hinges screamed in protest. "Let's go," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. But as soon as I crossed the threshold, an unsettling chill washed over me. The funhouse was freezing, despite the warm night outside. The interior was nothing like I expected. The walls were lined with cracked mirrors, their surfaces stained and warped with age. The floorboards creaked underfoot, sending echoes down the hallway. There were still remnants of carnival decorations, dust-covered streamers, broken carnival booths, and faded painted faces of clowns and jesters. But none of it looked happy. It was all wrong. The clowns and the paintings were twisted, their smiles too wide, their eyes too hollow. Their faces seemed to follow us as we moved. Eric spoke up, trying to keep the mood light. "All right, guys, we're the ghosts." I thought this place was haunted. "Ghosts don't do the heavy lifting," I said, chuckling nervously. "It's all just stories." But even as I said it, I wasn't so sure. We ventured deeper into the funhouse, the air growing colder with each step. The sound of our footsteps was deafening in the silence. As we turned a corner, I saw something that made my heart skip. A reflection in one of the mirrors. A figure. A clown. Standing motionless in the corner. Its face painted with grotesque features. Its eyes, hollow and dark, seemed to bore into me. I froze. My blood ran cold. And for a split second, I thought I might have seen a shadow flicker at the corner of my vision. But I blinked and it was gone. I chuckled awkwardly. "Guys, one of you is pulling a prank, right?" Leah and Eric turned around, eyes scanning the empty space behind me. "What are you talking about, Jordan?" Leah asked, her voice tight with apprehension. I turned around quickly. Nothing, just empty space and the warped mirrors. "I swear I saw something," I muttered more to myself than to anyone else. "Maybe you're just spooked," Marcus said, slapping me on the back with a grin. But there was something in his eyes, something that suggested he wasn't as confident as he was pretending to be. "Let's keep moving," Eric said. "We've got the whole night ahead of us." No ghosts, no monsters. We continued walking, but the air felt heavier, as though the space around us was closing in. That's when I felt it. A cold hand on my shoulder. My heart slammed into my ribs, and I spun around, adrenaline surging through me. There, standing inches from me, was a clown. Its rubbery smile stretched impossibly wide, and its hollow eyes were fixated on me. It was exactly like the reflection I had seen earlier, except this time it was real. Too real. I opened my mouth to scream, but nothing came out. I tried to step back, but my feet wouldn't move. The clown reached toward me, its fingers long and skeletal. I snapped out of my trance and bolted, running as fast as I could toward my friends. But when I turned to tell them, I saw nothing. The hallway behind me was empty. What the hell is going on? I gasped, looking around wildly. But they didn't see anything. They just stared at me like I was losing my mind. I saw it. I swear to God, I saw it. I screamed, my breath ragged in my chest. Dude, there's nothing there, Marcus said, his face pale. I didn't know what to believe. I wanted to believe it was some kind of prank, but the terror was too real. My heart was racing, and a cold sweat broke out across my skin. I didn't know how, but somehow I ended up alone. I had been running, panicking. At some point, the others must have split up, or I had lost them in a maze of mirrors and darkness. I stumbled through the hallways, my hands shaking, trying to find the exit. That's when I found it. The room, the one that had been locked up in my mind. I don't know how I got there, but I was there. The last thing I remember was seeing the clown again, this time, standing in the center of the room. It was watching me, and then everything went black. The next morning, I woke up in the corner of the funhouse, my body cold and stiff. I didn't know how long I had been unconscious, but the others were nowhere to be found. I felt something strange on my face. My hand reached up to touch it, and I realized with a shock that I was wearing a torn clown mask. I didn't speak. I couldn't. My throat was dry, my mind blank. My friends never found me again. No one ever knew what happened to me that night. They say I left the funhouse with them, but I know the truth. The clown didn't just disappear. It took something with it, and I can still hear its laughter echoing in my mind. The mirror never lies, they say, but sometimes it whispers. I had never been much of a thrill seeker. Sure, I liked the occasional horror movie or ghost story, but actual danger? That was something I preferred to avoid. But when Clara came into my life, everything changed. I met her on Bumble of all places. She was daring, fearless, and had a mischievous glint in her eyes that made my heart race. And I liked it. When she suggested sneaking into the ruins of an old traveling carnival rumored to be haunted, I couldn't back down. I had to impress her. The carnival grounds were located on the outskirts of town. I'd driven past it countless times, always feeling a strange pull to the overgrown field where the faded remnants of the once vibrant carnival still stood. The rusting skeletons of rides, broken tents, and shattered signs were a ghostly reminder of what used to be. I always avoided it, though. There was something unsettling about it. But with Clara beside me, it felt like an adventure waiting to happen. As we walked through the decaying gates, the air grew thick with a sense of foreboding. The moon cast a pale light on the wreckage of the carnival, and the wind whispered through the trees. It was almost as if the place was holding its breath, waiting for something or someone. Clara led the way with a confident stride, her footsteps barely making a sound on the cracked pavement. She seemed to know this place, her eyes scanning the shadows as though it were a playground. I, on the other hand, couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Every creak of a broken ride, every flutter of leaves and wind made my skin crawl. "Come on, Bryce." Clara called back to me, her voice filled with excitement. "Let's check out the Smiling Jester's Maze." The Smiling Jester's Maze. I had heard the stories. The carnival's funhouse had once been its crown jewel, but now it was nothing more than a rotting, skeletal structure. People said that after the carnival shut down, strange things happened there. People disappeared. Some said it was the spirits of the carnival performers, still trapped in the twisted maze of mirrors and broken mirrors, unable to escape their eternal performance. "Sounds great," I replied, though my voice betrayed a hint of nervousness. Clara's laughter echoed ahead of me, a sound that sent a shiver down my spine. She was enjoying this, and I wasn't going to let my fear show. We approached the funhouse entrance, the tattered sign barely hanging from its rusted nails. The walls of the building loomed above us, their cracked paint peeling away in large chunks. The air inside was thick with dust and mildew. We stepped into the darkness, the door creaking shut behind us. At first, everything was still. The air felt cold, unnatural, and the silence hung heavy around us. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, and I wondered if I had made a huge mistake. But Clara seemed unaffected. She moved ahead with ease, as if she had been here 100 times before. "Just follow me, and whatever you do, don't look in the mirrors too long," she said with a grin, her voice tinged with something darker. "They have a way of showing you things you don't want to see." I followed her deeper into the maze. The mirrors on the walls were cracked and streaked with grime, distorting our reflections in strange ways. At first, it was easy to ignore the creeping sensation that something wasn't quite right. But then the laughter started. It was faint, just a whisper at first, a child's giggle, then a maniacal chuckle, followed by a series of distorted cackles that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I glanced at Clara, but she didn't seem to notice. Her eyes were focused ahead, her expression unreadable. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Clara didn't answer. Instead, she pressed forward, her steps faster now. "We're almost there," she said, her tone suddenly urgent. "We need to get to the clown room." The clown room. My stomach churned at the thought. I had never liked clowns, and the idea of entering a room full of mannequins dressed as them felt like a nightmare waiting to unfold. But Clara was already moving ahead, and I had no choice but to follow. We reached the door to the clown room, a narrow passageway lit only by the flickering light of a broken bulb. Inside, dozens of mannequin clowns stood motionless, their painted faces frozen in eternal smiles. Their glassy eyes seemed to follow us as we moved deeper into the room. I tried to steady my breathing, but the air felt thick, like I was suffocating. Clara walked confidently toward the center of the room, seemingly oblivious to the eerie atmosphere surrounding us. But then I heard it, the sound of a soft, slow creak. I turned, my heart hammering in my chest, and saw one of the clowns. Its painted face was gaunt, the once bright colors now faded and peeling, and it was moving. Its head had turned, slowly, impossibly, to face us. "Clara!" I shouted, panic rise in my throat. But when I looked back at her, she was gone. The room was empty, save for the sound of my own breathing and the soft jingling of bells. I bolted, my feet carrying me through the twisted corridors of maze, the sound of bells jingling behind me growing louder. It was as if something was chasing me, or perhaps it was the very essence of the carnival itself, trying to claim us. The walls seemed to shift, the mirrors reflecting figures that weren't there, creating illusions that made my head spin. I stumbled to the maze, disoriented and panicked, until I found myself standing on a high platform, looking out over the mirror maze below. I could see nothing but the reflections of a broken world, fractured and distorted. And then I saw it, a clown, standing at the bottom of the maze, its glowing red eyes fixed on me. It held a cracked balloon in one hand, its mouth twisting into a grotesque grin. And then, in a voice that sent a chill through my entire body, it whispered, "Come play with us, forever." I stepped backward, my heart racing. The floor beneath me creaked, the wooden planks groaning under my weight. I slipped, my foot catching on a loose board, and for a moment, I thought I would fall. But somehow, I caught myself, my fingers scraping the edge of the platform as I pulled myself up. I didn't look back as I ran, my feet pounding the ground as I finally reached the exit. The sound of the carnival's shrill horn echoed behind me, a deafening blast that made my ears ring. I stumbled out of the carnival, gasping for breath, the cool night air hitting my skin like a slap. But Clara was nowhere to be seen. I called her name, but the silence was all I received in return. The next day, Clara was gone. She hadn't texted, hadn't answered any of my calls. It was as if she had vanished. I tried to brush it off as a coincidence, but something gnawed at me, a sense of unease that wouldn't let go. A week later, I learned the truth. Clara had been missing for years. Her last known location? The same carnival we had just explored. The one that had claimed so many others, including her. I never went back. But sometimes when the night is still and the wind is just right, I hear the faint sound of bells jingling in the distance, and I know that the carnival is still waiting for me. Waiting for all of us.